Welcome back, and let's begin with the Urban Debate at 9 p.m. edition, viewers. Yesterday, Prime Minister Modi addressed the nation and he laid out the vision for an Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-sufficient, a self-reliant India. And he said that we are going to come out with a 20 lakh crore package, stimulus package for the country to emerge from this pandemic, to emerge from this slowdown and get back on the growth track. The details were announced by the Finance Minister today. Now, this is only the first part. The Finance Minister said that in the coming days, she's going to have more news briefings and step by step deal with each sector on a daily basis. So let's take a look at what's been announced today. The biggest headline of the announcements that was made today was the roughly 3.7 lakh crore package for the MSME sector. Of this, 3 lakh crore is for the standard MSMEs, a funding package that has been announced. Then there is a separate set for the stressed MSMEs as well as those who are doing well and want to expand. So the government actually divided it into 3 different categories. Remember, the medium and the small micro enterprises, the small businesses in our country, viewers, are the ones that are struggling the most right now. They don't have money in hand and they have to pay their people as well. And many of them are on the brink of a shutdown. So the government is hoping that with this package of this size, they're able to ensure that the businesses don't shut down and that we don't see a further job loss. Then there was a 90,000 crore package which was announced for the power distribution companies, or DISCOMs as they are known as. This will of course come as a relief for many of these DISCOMs and the liabilities that they have. There was a 30,000 crore package that has been announced for the NBFCs, the non-banking financial companies. These are also companies that help businesses out in terms of funding. But the problem is that the NBFCs themselves are in a really bad state. So this support is to ensure that they have some money that they can then further give out to the businesses. In other ways, saying that more liquidity will be available for the NBFCs. The government also said that the contractors who work for government projects, or the central government projects, whether it's railways or elsewhere, they will be given a 6-month extension. So the pressure to meet deadlines will be eased, obviously, because not much work has happened in the past 1 month. The TDS has been cut or reduced by 25% for the non-salaried. But remember, and this is what our experts will tell us in just a bit, is this has just been given as a temporary relief. You will still have to pay that tax at some point. It just won't get deducted at the source. Then the deadline to file your income tax returns has been extended. So that's now been pushed to November. People have now time to figure this out and file their income tax returns by November. There are a few more steps. In fact, I want to begin with the focus on taxation before we go to our experts representing the industry to tell us what this really means for them. But first up, let's go across to Avni Raja. Avni, the details, tax-wise, Provident Fund-wise, what was said today and what does that really mean for you and me?
Well, that's right, Tanvi. So as far as taxpayers are concerned, 3 important announcements came in today. First, of course, is the fact that the income tax returns deadline to file that has been extended to the end of November. So obviously that eases the pressure of meeting the tax filing deadline. The other part, as far as tax deducted at source TDS or tax collected at source TCS is concerned, that has been cut by 25%. So what essentially this means, the government's aim is to put more money in the hands of people and of individuals. This of course will apply to the non-salaried class, so which means that you still will get that entire money, that extra 25%, but you will have to pay it at a later date as per your regular income tax slab. So what this is simply doing is not allowing the money to get cut at source, so that money will then come into your hand. So you have the freedom to invest it or to put it into savings as and when you want, and then of course it will get calculated as per your income tax slabs and you will have to pay tax on that. So that is the second point. The third part is that the government has extended EPF support for 3 months. This is of course only for the eligible companies. So the government will bear the burden of paying the EPF contribution for these eligible companies. And the other aspect, to put more money into the hands of people for those who don't fall in that category, the government has also reduced the employees' contribution to EPF by 2%. So from 12% earlier, it has now made it 10%. So essentially that means that you will have more money in your hand to take home, and the contribution that you have to, the compulsory contribution you have to make for PF will get reduced. Tanvi.
All right, Avni, thanks so much for joining us and really, putting that in perspective and taking us through this, all of those developments. Let's say good evening to our panelists who will help us understand just what does this mean in terms of reviving our economy, in terms of saving jobs and saving businesses. Good evening to Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, President of ASSOCHAM, and of course, Managing Director for the Hiranandani Group of Companies. Rajnish Goenka, Founder Chairman of the MSME Development Forum. I've also got Dilip Chunai, Secretary General for FICCI. Mr. Vikram Kirloskar, President for CII, will also be with us shortly, and Aman Sinha of the BJP. But first up, let me see if I can actually go across to Rajnish Goenka. Mr. Goenka, the big focus today, of course, and justifiably so, were the MSMEs. What has been announced today? What would be the impact of that on the sector?
See, the first impact which we feel is that it is a very big moral booster. Sentiments, they will boost up because the MSMEs were very low. They were thinking that 50% of them will die. But this stimulus is going to boost the morals and sentiments of MSME. That's number one. Secondly, liquidity was the biggest problem for MSMEs. And during this COVID, they were greatly hit because of the liquidity problems. So by giving these 6 major reliefs in different ways, every relief is going to create the liquidity in hands of MSMEs, and they will be able to take care of so many problems which they are going to face after COVID and they are facing right now. Let's say, first of all, 3 lakh crores they have provisioned for collateral-free loans to MSMEs. This is a very big boost for them. Secondly, they have not only cared about standard MSMEs, they have cared about the stressed MSMEs because they are the biggest sufferers and they need the biggest support. And I'm very happy that the government has selected them also in a phased manner. And a very big booster is being given. Around 20,000 crores is provisioned for stressed MSMEs and NPAs. And they will get benefited with this. Thirdly, they have also cared for, the MSMEs who are viable. So for them, they have provisioned around 50,000 crores fund of fund, this will also benefit them in a big way. The biggest demand which was floating for several years about the definition of MSMEs. So very intelligently, government has made, they have increased the investment limit and they have also clubbed it with the turnover. So this is going to, boost MSMEs and they can go in a bigger circle also. Earlier they were restrained. MSMEs were not willing to go beyond because they were fearing that they will lose the benefits of MSME being the MSME. Now this will give them an opportunity to grow further and they will be able to go to the international banks.
Mr. Goenka, just one question that I have for you.
Pardon?
I have one more follow-up question, but I'll just come back to it in just a bit. Let me also bring in Dr. Hiranandani and ask him this question. Dr. Hiranandani, while for the industry, it largely seems as a good beginning, what was announced yesterday and the details, some of the details that came out today, is there a direct impact for the real estate sector that you see here?
The answer is no, because I don't think they've really done the stimulus package which is required for the real estate industry, but they do have considered the extension of time which was separately proposed to the housing ministry, and that is being now announced through the finance minister. So I think the stimulus package relating to real estate industry is still to come. So that hopefully is going to come in the next stage, because there is zero statement of a stimulus package into that industry. But just taking off what was just now said about SMEs, and we have 450,000 members of SMEs in ASSOCHAM. Let me also point out to you that the multiplier effect in the case of SMEs is going to be huge, and that will affect positively to every possible industry. So whether it's automobile, whether it is textile, whether it is real estate, all these are interconnected with SMEs. So the effect of the benefit to SMEs will create employment and a multiplier effect to every other sector, including real estate. And the second part of it, which is I think as important, is the recognition that government liability should be paid. I think that's very important, because up till now, income tax refunds are not being paid. Funnily, all refunds are now sought to be paid, but corporate refunds are not included in this. So that surprises me completely. So they have said partnerships, individual, charitable trusts, yes, but non-corporate refunds. Why would corporate refunds which are due should not be paid? I think that's a mistake which has happened. The beauty also is about DISCOM payments of 90,000 crores, which we pointed it out through ASSOCHAM. We'd given this particular figure, and fortunately the same figure now reflects in the finance minister's statement that these amounts are not being paid for almost a year's time. So I think it's a good thing that all these items put together help real estate. It helps the overall GDP of the market to go up, and also to start the whole cycle of business. The SMEs become a good driver to start businesses throughout the country, the small, medium, and other sectors. And the third part of the SME funds, which talks about the one which he talks about fund of funds, I think that's extremely interesting, because they talk about how this is going to be the next generation and how to take SMEs forward to the whole thing, besides the size of the SMEs being taken. So I think this is really an interesting micro detailing of how the fund should go. Now it's the bureaucrats actually to really take up this matter in more detail, because many times the devil is in the detail, and the bureaucrats put into parantus in the whole exercise. So I'm hopeful that they will not do this again in this time, and we will be able to carry out the direction of the Prime Minister and now the Finance Minister into getting this thing. I'm pretty pleased as to how this start has taken place of more than 6 lakh crores on a total of what are the figures that they have announced.
Yes, that is true. A 20 lakh crore figure that has been announced, of which roughly 6 lakh crore, can be factored in between what the government announced earlier with that 1.7 lakh crore package and the steps that the Reserve Bank of India has taken, which are also being factored in, if I'm not mistaken. And today are roughly about 6 lakh crore again. But Mr. Dilip Chinoy, what do you think? How long is it going to take for these steps to translate on ground? Because the fact of the matter is that the MSME industry has been waiting for some relief for now many weeks, and every day that we're not able to reach this help out to them, they're on the brink of a shutdown or are shutting down.
So Tanvi, I think one important point to realize is that the EPF extension by 3 months is also going to benefit a large section of MSMEs. We tend to disconnect that in our discussions here. The second is, when the RBI had announced their, the banks to give moratoriums and the banks to, lend money, the biggest challenge that the banks actually faced was that they felt that these loans were not secure. So this 100% guarantee and the automaticity of the loan being granted for up to 20% of the borrowings, up to 25 crores, is actually taking away the discretion and the fear in the mind of the banker regarding their loans to the sector. So given that, it is fairly simple to actually put this into practice from tomorrow morning itself. So I think the biggest challenge about implementation of the loan scheme has been addressed in this package. Regarding the second aspect of the procurement, which they've said 200 crores, there'll be domestic procurement. I mean, there's no execution in that. That's a simple rule. Every tender that is coming out has to actually follow that. So that's also, can be implemented from tomorrow morning. And regarding the outstandings, the finance minister herself, said that it will be cleared within 45 days. So I think that's also very, very important. And while Mr. Hiranandani has rightly said that the corporates are excluded, but a lot of small and medium enterprises are also proprietorships and also other categories. So the income tax refund for them is also going to help this sector in a big manner. So if you see, the whole thing is actually intertwined. And the DISCOMs 90,000 crore which has been given is actually linked to the DISCOMs passing on the benefits to the customer. And one of the big things that the customers in many states are actually saying is, can you look at waiving off fixed charges? And some states like Karnataka and Gujarat and all have actually taken steps in this case for MSME. So actually, if you club many of the state initiatives and the central initiatives, it is a lot in it for the SME sector, and majority of it can actually come into effect tomorrow morning.
Okay, well, if that's what it is and it can come into effect as soon as that, then it will be great. Now, if I can actually just go back to Mr. Goenka. Mr. Goenka, there was a survey that Economic Times had done of about 7,000 SMEs on April 27th, so not too long ago. And they said that 61% of them were considering scaling down their operations, 7% were considering selling their business, 13% were considering shutting down completely, and 13% were looking at this as an opportunity to grow their business. So now I know what will happen to the last segment, which is 13% looking to grow their business. But what about the rest? How does this scenario change, or the mood or the mindset change for the MSMEs post this announcement?
See, we have our members all over India. We represent 12 crore MSMEs and around 60 crore people connected with them. We have been in regular touch with them. You see, these MSMEs, talking on a positive note, they have their inherent strength. And most of them to whom we have been talking in the last few days, they will fight back. And I'm sure more than 60-70% of the MSMEs, they will start their operations if the compliance problems are not there. If whatever government has said, it is properly implemented at the local level. Because local level, they have a lot of problems from the SDM. They are not allowing so many things. They are putting some fingers there and here. If all these things are smoothened, I assure my country that more than 60%, 70% people will start operations. Because while starting operations, they have to work at least 50-60% of their production. The labor problem is going to be a problem also, because more than 50% migrant laborers have left the industries, but most 20 to 30% they have been able to retain, and 20-25% was the local labor. So they are planning, if government gives some stimulus support in this sector also, to bring back those workers, that will help them revive faster, And as I told you, that if these stimulus, this money, as fast as it goes to them, they will be able to fight back and they will be able to revive soon. And this labor problem, job problem, 80% jobs are provided by the MSMEs. As my predecessor, somebody was saying, that MSMEs are the biggest chain between large and small, between employers and employees. So they have to be strengthened. And I assure you, and this is first time I have seen in the history of India, that when a stimulus, when a relief package is announced, MSMEs were the first to be addressed. This is first time it has happened. It is only because of the Modi government's attitude. 70 years we have been beaten and we have been ignored. This is first time they have realized if we have to be alternative to China, if we have to beat China, only MSMEs have the strength to do that. And there is a very big beginning.
Yes.
One of our exporter member, they were feeling that there is no relief in the salary and wages which they have to pay. So we are going to talk to the finance minister to take care of that sector also, because some relief must be given by the government by paying wages directly to these workers and salaried people. This will give further strength to MSMEs. That's very important at this stage, because wages and salaries is a very big hassle. They are not able to afford paying them for April and May. Something has to be done in this sector also. Thank you.
Yes, okay. In fact, to the point that you made, let me go across to Mr. Aman Sinha of the BJP. Mr. Aman Sinha, so an interesting point being made there that this is perhaps the first time when a relief or stimulus has been announced, and MSMEs have been the first point to begin from and have been the focus of it. Of course, one question that didn't get answered today, Mr. Sinha, is how are we going to fund this?
Everything will be answered, Tanvi, but undoubtedly, the announcements which have been made today, Tanvi, they comprehensively address the issues which are being faced by MSME. As my previous panelist was also speaking, he's the chairman of the MSME forum, and he was himself saying that for the first time in history of independent India, when an economic package comes across, the first priority is MSME. That itself reflects the priorities of the government, and also goes on the announcements which have been made today, Tanvi, they not only address concerns that MSMEs were facing, it boosts liquidity, it provides impetus to economy and growth. And let me assure you, Tanvi, as far as your question of financing this or addressing other sectors of economy are concerned, certainly each and every sector will be addressed. Not a single individual, not a single entity is going not to get any relief measure from the government. And you will find that this is a comprehensive package. This not only is a relief package, but it lays down foundation and a roadmap for new India, where India can assume the role of a global leader after being the fastest growing economy in times of these crises, which IMF also predicts that India is going to be the fastest growing economy and perhaps the only other country apart from China which is going to clock positive growth. And after factoring in all these very revolutionary and transformational announcements that the finance minister has made under the guidance of Prime Minister, I'm sure that we are going towards a very strong and a robust economic path in coming year.
Okay. I take your point, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani. A lot of the concern has also been that the steps that were even taken earlier, whether the liquidity measures that were announced by the Reserve Bank of India, they barely translated or to anything concrete on ground. That money didn't reach the people, the companies, because the banks are hesitant, the NBFCs are in a bad state. Do you think that to a certain extent the announcements that have been made today would at least improve the scenario?
The answer is yes, because of the guarantees which are given. Today almost 8 lakh crores of rupees are lying in reverse repo with the Reserve Bank. Instead of the banks lending to the economy and to SMEs and to real estate or to every other businesses, they are now putting the money back in the Reserve Bank at 3.75% interest. Now that is the negative which is there. And the amount lying with the Reserve Bank is now today about 8.2 lakh crores. It's a shockingly large amount of money which actually should have been in industry. Out of which today, I believe 3.2 lakh crores, of course, some of it may come through NBFCs, but let's presume that 3.2 lakh crores, because of the guarantees, will now go to SMEs from that amount. We still have 5 lakh crores rupees lying by the banks in reverse matter with the RBI, which can be given to various sectors of the economy. So it is my expectation that tomorrow, day after, whenever the next announcements are likely to make, we will get the commitments to various other sectors, which Aman Sinha just hinted to, that there is an expectations of other sectors of the economy. And I think the finance minister also made a statement to that effect today, that wait for some other things which are also likely to come. Now, which means what? That it means that the target of 8 lakh crores of rupees, which are lying in reverse, will somehow go back into the economy, because that's the easiest way to put liquidity into the economy. So if you minus 3.2 lakh crores, my belief is that in the next 2 or 3 days, it's a guesstimate, of course, because I have no way to confirm it, that about 5 lakh crores of rupees of additional liquidity funding lying with the banks, which are not being given because of lack of confidence of the banks to lend in the money, will come into the economy by some sort of direct, indirect, or full guarantees in the next few days. That's my guesstimate for tomorrow, day after. I don't know whether I'll be right. We'll have a look.
We can hope so for sure. Mr. Dilip Chana, would you agree? What's your view?
So I think what President ASSOCHAM, Mr. Hiranandani, said is a way forward. But again, if you look at what did not work in the past was the TLTRO for the NBFCs, because they had a condition that a certain percentage of that should be dispersed to the less, lower graded and smaller NBFCs and the MFIs. So what they've done actually in this package is broken the NBFC thing into 2 parts. So, they've said that the 45,000 crore liquidity to NBFCs, with a first loss or 20% first loss guarantee will be borne by Government of India. And this is for even, that's the 30,000 crores, the liquidity will be given, government will buy debt papers, these institutions, even if investment grade. So they have actually addressed that issue of only the top rated NBFCs getting money. And the second thing, which is the 45,000 liquidity to NBFCs, they're actually bearing a 25% loss will be borne by the government, and even unrated papers will get money. So, given the fact that the TLTROs did not work, this is a different way of getting liquidity into the system, and this is actually buying paper from the NBFCs. So I think that's really a positive step, and you'll see that happening again. And as against financing it, the finance minister herself said that, once the entire package is actually announced, she'll actually come out with very clear indicators of how they are going to finance it and how the whole package fits together. So I think we need to wait for that patiently and see how the packages unroll for the other sectors, because even the Prime Minister said, and as Mr. Sinha said, that every type of individual, right from the person who sells food things on the rediwala on the roadside to different types of people, and every sector of the economy will be covered. So in the next 2 and 3 days, we actually would like to see that happening.
Okay, before I go to Aman Sinha, very quickly to Dr. Hiranandani, what are your expectations for real estate? We still have a series of announcements to go. What will you be watching out for?
Basically, the stress fund for completion of unfinished projects, like you see in Noida, like you see in many places around the country. The fund of 25,000 crores, which has come in the Swami fund, is not sufficient. I think that amount will have to be increased to about 1,50,000 crores is what my expectations are. Some sort of an indirect credit guarantee for those amounts, similar to what happened of 10,000 crores, which came into the first fund, I think is able to do. We had some informal talks with HDFC. They are quite ready to take up the next level of funding, which is required to be done. I think a question of interest subsidy, which has been given to affordable housing, could be taken up for the stress projects which are there. So that could also be taken into consideration for the stress projects, because the stress fund are charging 15% interest rates. I think that's on the higher side. If that could be subsidized to the extent of around 4 or 5%, I think that would be extremely important. But most important of all, I have a suggestion which is quite different from what has been passed or whatever it is. My suggestion is that the GST should be reduced by 50% for the next 6 months. If that is done, that will cause a booster not only to real estate, not only to cars, not only to manufacture, not only to hotels, not only to airlines, but everything. And if you take a 50% cut, of course, the collection today of GST is almost 20% only, so it won't make too much of a difference. But if there is a booster given in terms of the demand, because all this which we are doing today is the supply side subsidies. We don't have a demand side subsidy yet coming in. So I'm expecting that GST could be reduced by 50% across the board for a period of 6 months. So people start buying things and spending money on things, of course, if they have that money today. And it will be an incentivization to create the demand side.
Okay, quick reaction from Aman Sinha on the comments that have come from their rival party Congress that says that you completely forgot the migrants and you've not made any announcements for the people who are actually the ones who are working hard, who are carrying the burden of the Indian economy on their shoulders. You completely forgot about them, Aman Sinha.
No, Tanvi, that's absolutely incorrect. And let me tell you that, in fact, in the first round of announcements itself, there have been large number of disbursements either through Jan Dhan Yojana or Kisan Samman Nidhi, or there is the scheme which is there for our workers. Now, thereafter, there have been large number of trains which have transported these migrant workers. Certainly, we are alive to the issue. Let me also tell you, Tanvi, that from PM CARES Fund, about 1,000 crores, I was just hearing those reports as I was coming for your program. 1,000 crores has been allocated only for the specific designated purposes of welfare of migrants. Now, you have a very esteemed panel, Tanvi. I must compliment you, and Mr. Hiranandani and Mr. Chinoy, they have raised several pertinent points. But let me also tell them, and they would also perhaps acknowledge, that the government has already outdone what they had envisaged, because even from my understanding, I think most of the chambers, they had come out with a demand of something like 5 lakh crore to 15 lakh crore. In that range, they were the most ambitious demands which were made to the government with respect to economic package. Now, the government has already gone to 20 lakh crore. Let me assure them that this is not all. There is even much more which will be coming. And you are yourself, as you have just mentioned, that there are large number of announcements on several sectors. Mr. Hiranandani would also recall that today itself, in the very first set of announcements, the construction and the real estate sector is one of the thrust areas, because not only for people like Mr. Hiranandani, but because of the fact that they create large number of jobs, and the government is conscious and alive to that, and therefore we are addressing all the concerns which are there. And similarly, Tanvi, with large number of other MSME sectors, or large corporates, or migrants, all workers, or laborers, everybody is there on the radar of the government, and their concerns are bound to be addressed. Please await for press conferences and announcements, focus announcements, which will come in these sectors for next 4 or 5 days. And I'm sure no question will be left unanswered. Even today, Tanvi, if I can just quickly go through this specific...
Our panelists will also
Tanvi,
tell you that here at Mirror Now, we've been having constant daily debates and conversations, not debates, conversations about India Revival Mission. This is a campaign that we started, and we are glad that India Revival Mission has now been initiated by the government with the announcements that have come. Just to point out, though, and I don't want to get into a debate about the size of the stimulus package, but a part of this 20 lakh crore is what the government has already announced, including the 1.7 lakh crore package that was announced last month. That also, by the way, included what was already factored in as part of the budget that was presented in February. So the details will also matter of what essentially translates into additional help finally to the people and to the businesses. But as long as the government is moving and providing and taking some, hard decisions, I think everybody is just glad that it's at least going to get the economy up and about. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for our panelists for joining us on this conversation. This is just the beginning, viewers. A large chunk of the announcement was made today. MSME was a core pain point. And everybody had been telling us, and we had been telling you, that this is what the government needs to look at right away. So yes, while the announcements could have come much earlier, like we've been saying, we are glad that the announcements have now been made. We will have to go through the fine print, go through the details to give you a more detailed analysis. But you've heard the initial reactions from the industry representatives yourselves. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. Well, to the point that we were just speaking about, let's get you more details, viewers. Exhaustive details have been released by the government about the PM CARES Fund. And the PM CARES Fund Trust has decided to allocate 3,100 crore rupees to the fight against COVID. Out of this 3,100 crore, that's 3,100 crore rupees to fight against the COVID right now. About 2,000 crore rupees will be earmarked for the purchase of ventilators. Now, keep in mind that the fight against COVID is going to continue. Lockdown or no lockdown, in whichever format we have the lockdown, we will still have the infection around this entire year for sure, next year as well. And so we have to be ready for any kind of situation, which means our healthcare infrastructure has to be strong enough. And one of the crucial points there is the ventilator. So the government has decided to use about 2,000 crore rupees from the PM CARES Fund just for the ventilators. Ayushman, in fact, is joining me with the detailed breakup. Ayushman, take us through the details of, this 3,100 crore rupees that has now been allocated. How will it be used?
A lot of questions were being raised on PM CARES Fund, and now rupees 3,100 crores have been released for the fight against COVID-19, in which first 2,000 crores will be used for Made in India ventilator. Yesterday, the Prime Minister talked about the Atmanirbhar Bharat, and today the centre has said that 2,000 crores would be used for making 50,000 ventilators. We know, Tanvi, that currently India is short on the count of ventilators given the situation of COVID-19 in the country. So 50,000 COVID ventilators would be made, which would be made in India. And for that reason, 2,000 crores have been allocated. Rupees 1,000 crore have been allocated for migrant laborers, and 100 crore has been given for the development of vaccine. And in order to support the vaccine designers and developers, the PM CARES has given 100 crores for the vaccine development, which will be utilized under the supervision of principal scientific advisor. So this is the breakup which the PM CARES Fund will be spent upon. Total 3,100 crores from the PM CARES Fund has been released for the fight against COVID-19.
Okay, Ayushman, thanks so much for joining us. 50,000 ventilators at the cost of about 2,000 crore rupees that will be then given to the COVID hospitals which are currently in states and union territories. Relief measures for migrants. We spent about an hour talking about the migrants. 1,000 crore rupee have been allocated from the PM CARES Fund now for the migrants of our country, and the press release says this amount will be provided to state governments and UTs to place it at the disposal of the district collectors and municipal commissioners, so strengthening their efforts in providing accommodation facilities, food arrangements, medical treatment, transportation for the migrants. But I've hoped it had come sooner, but at least this has now been decided, and some amount of the money is also being allocated for the vaccine development. 100 crore has been allocated for that. So that's the breakup for the 3,100 crore of the PM CARES Fund that will now be used for COVID-related purposes. Let's move on and get you another story that we've been tracking here. Now, the Maharashtra government, viewers, invoked the special provision that comes under the Prohibition Act of the state to enable home delivery of liquor or home delivery of alcohol. But there's been quite a bit of confusion, a lot of back and forth about how it's going to take place. Essentially, what the government did was just invoke a section of the law paving way for home delivery. But how will it be done? Well, Mayuresh is joining me to help us understand. Mayuresh, how will it be done? Who gets to decide? And where all can we expect this home delivery to begin then?
Certainly, Tanvi, this order is basically for Maharashtra. It is not particularly for any other district. But what is the catch in this order? That it clearly mentions that the liquor sale or the home deliveries are allowed in permitted area. What do you mean by permitted area? Suppose if we take example of Mumbai, in Mumbai liquor sale is right now not allowed. A few days back we saw that BMC had given the permission, but after that they withdrew that permission. So similarly, Mumbai, similarly Thane, Nagpur, Navi Mumbai and Aurangabad, these corporations basically have not given a permission to sell the liquor. So in these areas, home delivery is not possible. Also in containment zone, home delivery is not possible. But in red zone, few red zones where home delivery is possible. If we take the example of Pune, in Pune, liquor sale is right now happening. If you remember, the state government had started its pilot project in Pune by giving the e-tokens for the liquor to the customer. So in that area where the liquor sale is happening, there home delivery is possible. But another catch in this entire thing is that home delivery is only like if you have permit, because in Maharashtra to drink and to purchase the liquor you need a permit. So if you have permit, then only you will get the home delivery. And for that, state government has clearly said the liquor shops should display their telephone numbers so that customers can book their orders via SMS, call or WhatsApp.
Okay, so those are the detailed guidelines that have actually been released now to say that this is how you have to go about it. One interesting point, of course, Mayuresh, is the law that we always had in Maharashtra that to consume liquor, you need a permit. Now, it was different if you went out to the restaurants and the bars where they would provide you with temporary permit. But this would mean that people who are ordering would need to have that permit with them, isn't it?
Yes, and in the guidelines, state government has given their website also. So those who don't have permit, they can apply online and get their permits.
All right, Mayuresh, thanks so much for that clarification. So that option exists. You can still apply online and get that permit to legally order for alcohol and get it delivered to your home and consume it. Of course, like Mayuresh was pointing out, individually it still remains to be seen where all it will be allowed. Definitely not in containment zones, and each district commissioner can decide for their own zone, red, green or orange, in whichever way it is. But thank you, Mayuresh, for bringing that story to us. Let's move on. And there were a few more reports, viewers, that I wanted to play out for you as far as the migrants crisis is concerned. Now, here is a report that we got from Delhi, where migrant workers said that they tried to get tickets, they tried to get on trains, but that's not worked so far. So now they've given up and they've just decided to simply walk all the way from Delhi to Bihar. Here is a report.
The argument which these laborers are giving that if these private vehicles belonging to office goers can operate on the road, why is it so that they are also being given facility to go to the railway station in an effort to get the railway ticket while they want to go back home? These have been the migrants which we have been observing time and again who are walking towards the railway station. Madam, कहाँ जाना चाह रहे हैं आप लोग?
झांसी।
हाँ?
झांसी।
झांसी। कहाँ से लेके आ रहे हैं बच्चे को?
चंदन विहार से।
नांगलोई से आ रहे हैं आप? जी। भोला को पहुँच गए? कोई सवारी नहीं मिली आप लोगों को?
नहीं।
तो कैसे जाएंगे? टिकट है?
नहीं, टिकट तो नहीं सर।
हाँ।
नहीं सर, कोई ट्रक पकड़ेंगे तो चले जाएंगे सर। हाँ जी।
तो ये काम लगता नहीं तो पैसे है नहीं है, कहाँ से पैसे हैं कि टिकट इतनी महंगी कर रखे हैं।
और इतने दिन तक बच्चे को कैसे रखा? दूध मिल रहा था?
दूध मिल रहा था। जो आंटी थी वो गांव कुपुरा में कहती थी कि इसके पास खाने पीने का नहीं है तो दे देते थे लोग।
Mothers want their children to have a better life. On one side, the vehicles are moving. On the other side, you have these migrant laborers bound to walk because they want to go back home, and for that they are taking these kind of bizarre steps. Although there are Delhi police pickets which are across the city where the Delhi police personnel are trying to counsel these people to go back to their houses. But till how long the Delhi police will also manage to stop these laborers, these mothers, the parents, to give some sort of relief and some space for their children is a big question before the country.
And the story is no different in any other part of our India where migrants live and earn their daily livelihood and are now hoping and struggling to get back home. Here is a report that Deepak Bopanna got for us from Bengaluru.
We're standing in this special bus that has been arranged by the government to ferry the migrant workers to the railway stations, where of course the Shramik Express will take them back to their hometown. Most of the laborers, migrant workers rather here, are from Uttar Pradesh. आप बता सकते हैं आप अभी बस में हो, अभी रेलवे स्टेशन जा रही है, आप खुश हो अभी
खुश हैं साहब घर जाने के लिए।
कितने दिन के बाद जा रहे हो, कितने मुश्किलें थी इतने दिन?
4 महीने के बाद जा रहे हैं साहब घर को।
अभी लॉकडाउन के बाद काम था, पैसा मिल रहा था?
नहीं मिल रहा था साहब, कुछ भी नहीं मिल रहा था।
और अब जो आप ये बस में बैठे हो, इधर तक पहुंचने के लिए क्या क्या मुश्किलें फेस करना हुआ?
सर बहुत मुश्किलें फेस करना पड़ा, लाइन में लग के पूरा टिकट लेना पड़ा है हमको। पूरा इतना गर्दी, इतना सब वैसा धक्का दे रहे थे सब।
और अभी खुश हो आप?
हाँ बहुत खुश है सर।
Well, you can see all of them really happy. अब सब लोग खुश हो अभी? Yes, sir. Well, you can see all of them showing excitement now that they're getting back home. आपने फोन करके घर में बताया कि आप लोग आ रहे हैं?
हाँ सर,
सबने बता दिया? हाँ सर। Well, you can see a real excitement as a group here among the people. They've all called home. They've informed them, and the smiles on their faces show, how important this really was for all of these people to really return home.
Well, viewers, before we wrap up, here's an interesting report that we've got for you. Now, right now, airline operations are not allowed, but at some point in the future, you will be allowed to fly again. And when that happens, the scenario at the airports will be very, very different from what we've seen so far. So here is a report that will show you and give you an idea of just how it is going to be the next time perhaps you visit an airport. This is a report from Hyderabad, giving us insights into the contactless social distancing, kind of norms kept in mind, how it's going to function right from the beginning till the end. Take a look.
Well, I'm here at the Rajiv Gandhi International Airport in Hyderabad, and as the airports begin the preparation for actually opening up, there are a series of measures that have been taken, and I'm going to take you inside the airport and show you what exactly are the measures that have been taken up by the airports to ensure social distancing. One of it are these blocks that have been made to ensure social distancing, adequate distance between them. Second is this camera. You can just come up here, you can show your ID proof and your thing, and then you get a thumbs up from there saying that you can proceed forward. And then I come straight forward, and then there is this particular camera. If you can see that particular camera, it's a thermal camera, so it shows your body temperature and also checks whether you have your mask on. If I can show you this monitoring panel right here, this is where the CISF staff will be here, and they will check whether your body temperature is fine. Mine shows 96.8 Fahrenheit, and whether I have a mask. So it says I have a mask, that's why it's in green. So that is the kind of measures that have been taken to ensure that people entering have their body temperature at a normal level, and also whether they have their mask on. Second, when I come inside, I come right here to this particular desk, which is the information desk. Earlier they used to have people right around there, and now they don't have people. They have an interactive session. For example, I come right here. Good morning, sir. I have a flight at 10:30 to Delhi. It is an Air India flight. Can you tell me where I need to head to?
Yeah, very good morning. The Air India is operating in C row. Can you please go left and right?
Okay, thank you. So he said it operates in the C row. So I'm going towards C. So it reduces the number of people at the counter and ensures that people get their information. So they're just innovating the earlier methods wherein people would come and interact with people. Instead of that, it's contactless. Even if you see these desks, these are all self-check-in kiosks. Earlier, you had to come, you had to type in your details and then show your boarding pass. Now it's all QR based. You scan it and then you move ahead. Also, if you see these blocks here, they're all for social distancing. In fact, you have to maintain basic distance, only then you will be allowed inside this particular area. Also, if you take a look at the chairs, Out of those 4 chairs that are available, there are 2 of the chairs in between. They have been marked as you cannot sit here. That is also again to ensure social distancing. So a series of measures have been taken in this particular airport to ensure that there is zero contact with the person who's operating it, also to ensure social distancing. If you look at that side, that is the check-in counter. This particular area is where you come, you get your boarding pass checked. For example, these are the windshields that have been put up to ensure that people don't come, put their hand here, do not interact. So zero contact again. So you come here, if you have your ticket on your phone, you show your phone to this particular scanner here. They say, okay, your luggage tag comes out of this machine. Your boarding pass comes out of this machine. You put your luggage here. You put your tag on your own now, unlike before, and then you send it across. That's how effortless it is. I'm going to take you inside again, and you can see this entire area has these blocks here to ensure social distancing on the ground. And this is how it is in the entire airport premises. Everywhere, this is going to be the new normal, the new culture that you have to maintain social distancing for your own safety. If I can show you this side, this is where the security check happens, and you can see those trays there which are used to keep your luggage. They also have again innovated here. They have a fumigating tunnel, that is each and every tray that is used passes through the fumigation tunnel. That is for sanitizing the area. So earlier they used to have a lot of checks, that is normal cleaning checks. Now they have something called as deep cleaning checks. That is to ensure that not only normal sanitization happening, but also deep cleaning process happening. If you can see that side, there is a contactless fountain. I'm not sure whether you can actually see it. I'm moving towards the contactless fountain. There again they have innovated. That is, earlier people used to come there, press a particular button, and you used to have water. But now they have made this as well contactless, which means, for example, I walk up to this particular contactless fountain. I come, I stand here. Earlier I had to press this button. Now I just stand here and then I get the water. So those are the kind of efforts that have been taken. Anyone who stands here at this distance, this particular fountain works.
Well, life that we never imagined before, that's how it's going to be after this lockdown lifts. And this is just a brief glance on it. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of The Urban Debate.